Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Exodus chapter 4, day 9. Exodus chapter 4, day 9. I am Lynn, um, moved by the Most High as Alicia and Anaya Elda. So, welcome to day 9 of Exodus chapter 4. Thank you all for joining in with me. I will tell you all this is um, for Facebook because I was unable to pre record. I still want to come on and share the live. It is the Sabbath day. Um, and I'm going to speak on that real briefly before I get into the lesson. But my plan was to pre-record this and then share it after 6 p.m. Of the Sabbath day ending. Because of course you all know that the Sabbath day starts at 6 p.m. on Friday or in the evening on Friday and ends the same time on the preceding day, Saturday. So um, I typically have learned and am following the Sabbath day, but there is an urgency of man-made time, and it's just in my spirit, and I will not state with all certainty. What I'm about to say is that there is a urgency in my spirit of time, and that there's a message and a word that needs to get out to Yah's people. And if we were in consideration of man's time, it needs to get out with an urgency and as in media as soon as possible and as much information as possible. And so I've had days in between where I've come out and I've uh, given and shared Yah's message. But there are other messages out here sharing the same message. And so while I personally have not been consistent on a day-to-day basis sharing the message and words of the Most High, there are uh, messages sent from Yah who are sharing the same exact message. And oftentimes the days that I have not come on, I myself have actually listened to them. So just be mindful of the messages and the ones that the Most High have sent out here to help you, to help us understand what should be going on at this point in time. So I do appreciate you all and thank you all for opening up your hearts and minds and your homes um, to me, and most importantly and before me, the Most High. So I always come in and I say an opening prayer. And so Most High, I just want to give all grace and glorification to you for using me as your messenger at this point in time. I ask that you just bless me and use me in the way that you would have used me, and that everything that comes from me be only of you there. And I just ask that everyone under the sound of my voice and everyone that they would find it in their hearts to share your word, and that even if it's one word in this message, that they would be so full of curiosity that they would seek your knowledge, that they would seek an understanding, and they would seek a confirmation or an affirmation of a assumption or a thought that they had before. I ask that your word be extended, and that there be an extension and an expansion of your word in your kingdom at this point in time, and that those that you love will come to know you, and that those don't know you will actually know you. I touch and believe, and ask that you be hearing this message. Please come into the room. Hallelujah. So I thank you all for coming in. And so I want to start off telling you all that there's something that kept sticking in my spirit in the last, I don't know, few days. Actually, since I did the last live, it just kept staying in my spirit. And there was quite a few words that were coming to me. Um, one was apostasy. One was apostasy, and when I get to the subject of apostasy, I'm going to explain to you why. But then I want to start off with some recaps before I get into chapter 10, because we left off on day 8 on Psalms. And you know, I always come back and do the recaps of the day, some of the information from the days before, because it all kind of connects and flows to it into each other before I get into where we were in Psalms. So what I want to do is go into a recap. And so this particular scripture stayed in my mind, and I want to share with you all. It's actually perfect for a time such as now, because there's so much going on in the world. But let me go back and tell you all, like when I ended on day 8, I was talking to you all about this incident that happened in the Bible with Amos, right? If you all remember, some of you all remember the story of the prophet that the Most High gave a message to go into the church, right? Jeroboam's church, and give Jeroboam a message from the Most High. And Jeroboam, because you all know about the J's and the H's and pronunciation, right? And so the prophet did that, and the prophet was given specific instructions to do not do anything else. Go and deliver the message and go back on your journey. Don't accept any food. Don't do anything. So the Most High gave specific, very simple instructions in order for this prophet to do that. And so upon research, I found that this prophet was Amos, right? And so the prophet was a younger prophet, right? Of young age. And so this prophet went and did as Yah told, went to the church and gave the message to Jeroboam. And during the time the message was given to Jeroboam, who was a king at the time, Jeroboam didn't like the message, right? And so he reached out and tried to grab Jeroboam, and the king Jeroboam, his hand started shriveling up and it became paralyzed. And so he started yelling and asking Amos, the prophet, to appeal to the Most High to retract the curse. And so, Amos did that. Now, after that incident, Jeroboam did as the most, Amos did as the Most High stated, and Amos went and got back on his journey, but he stopped for a minute and he sat under a tree and he rested. So along comes this older prophet, and this older prophet was, walked up to him and said, hey, what are you doing? And the older prophet, and Amos said, well, I was given instructions by the Most High to something the Most High told me to do, and I did it. And so I'm just resting. I'm going to get back on my journey. The Most High gave me specific instructions, and Amos is telling his prophet, the Most High gave me specific instructions not to do anything else. Don't eat, don't drink, don't do anything. Just get back on my journey and go back to the place that the Most High destined for me to go. And so here's this prophet. Right? Why don't you need to rest? Don't you need to get something to drink? Don't you need, food? Why don't you just do that before you go back on your journey? And Amos said, no, the Most High gave me specific instructions, so I'm going to follow the instructions of the Most High. And so here is this older prophet, right? And I'm going to tell you all, this happens all the time in life. And so the reason I want to share this before I get into the message for today is because this is what's happening in the world over and over and over again. So let me finish the story. So what happens, this older prophet says, well, I've been doing this thing longer than you. I've been a prophet longer than you. So I will be able to tell if the Most High is telling me something or even told you something. I have way more experience than you, right? And so then this older prophet lied, and he said, well, the Most High told me to tell you You got it wrong, see, because I know how to decipher, and I know how to discern, and I can hear this thing better than you. And so what I'm telling you is the Most High told me to tell you to come to my house and rest and get some food and drink and then continue on your journey. And so Amos hesitated a little bit, but then he thought about it and he was like, well, this is a prophet and he has been doing this thing longer than me. And, so I'm going to trust what he says because he's been doing this thing longer than me, right? Connected to the Father, religious experience. So I'm going to listen to him in spite of what the Most High said. And so Amos went to the prophet's house, listening to the prophet. That is not against the instructions the Most High said. Hesitated, but Amos still went. Amos sat and rested, food, drink, all of that. Then eventually Amos got up and went along his way. Along the journey, there was a lion. The lion devoured Amos, right? And ate Amos' the flesh, but the bones were left. Now, it is uncharacteristic of what a lion, so it was said, to leave bones, but this was not a usual incident. This was not a common characteristics of a lion. This was a supernatural occurrence that was happening. See, because Amos was disobedient to the exact instructions of the Most High, he suffered a consequence of the disobedience. Because this was a supernatural interference and an occurrence, well, therefore, the lion was instructed by the Most High to guard the bones. And so along comes the old prophet who lied and saw this lion, whoa, and seeing this lion guarding the bones. And so the prophet realized at this point, this is your doing. This is the bones of the prophet that you lied about, that you told this prophet that I gave instructions to you, and you lied. Therefore, the death of this prophet is on your head. His blood is on your hands. Had Amos listened to the instructions of the Most High, then prophecy would have been fulfilled the way the Most High intended the first time. And so what Amos did as a man, he gave a credit, precedence, more honor, and trust to man. And so the moral of that lesson is this. I wanted to share. Again, it's going to flow until the message for day 9. Because what often happens to us as humans, as people, and as people in groups and organizations, right? We always give honor to titles. We give precedence over matters. We listen to people because of who they are. We give people honor because of the authority that they've deemed themselves under. And so because of that, or because of hierarchies, and because of that, we fail a lot of times. Because all these organizations and these hierarchies and these titles, all of these are to the left. And here is the Most High on the right, always there, no matter what. And so what we do as people is we tend to believe in these things over here on the left all the time and listen, right? And we look and we feel that it's more power over here. We're forgetting who up here holds the power and authority over the left. We forget this. And so because of that, we fail. We often fail, right? And so this is what happens all the time. And so when it stayed in my spirit, and what I've been watching going on in the world is a dumbing down and a downing and a condescending attitudes with people who have placed themselves in authority, and people who have placed themselves with titles, and people who know and they're not doing the right thing. But the point is, these are people who have these quote unquote authorities, right? And what they do and what they've done since the beginning of time, and what Yah is not pleased with, is they take these authorities and these titles, and what they do is intentionally misguide and mislead people, right? And to their own selfish inclinations and things that are not of the Most High. And it's happened in biblical times, and it happened in times before then, and it happens of times of what was, and it's happening in times that are. Okay? And at some point, the Most High is going to call it out and say, enough is enough. And the Most High, right now, God's people is saying, enough is enough. So this stayed in my spirit. And so the word apostasy is stayed in my spirit. And then what I've been seeing is the condescending attitudes of people when I've been seeing people fighting about who is Yah, what is his correct name. Oh, I see people in Hebrew Israelite groups. I see people in religious groups. I see Christianity over Judaism. I see this religion and that religion, all of these things. And what I come to tell you all, is that none of us has the exact answers. But all of us, if you are of good spirit, it is in you. And a discernment. And so it is all the information there. And no, it is not supposed to be. We are an example of the Most High in spirit. But what we cannot continue to do, and what we should not continue to do, is one over the other, being a condescending attitude of, I know more than you, I am better than you, I've been doing this thing longer than you, listen to me. I'm a bishop, I'm a priest, I have these titles, and you're just a church goer. You don't have a title, you don't have a degree, you've not studied theology and all these things. So what we do is we approach people with this condescending nature and attitude of superiority. And it's humiliating, and it runs people from who you say you are. Because if you claim and profess to be of the Most High, and you have the knowledge, and you have the experience, and you know the correct information, then why would you not share it? Why would you make a person feel inferior because they didn't have the right information? Why would you talk down to a person because they're not a Hebrew Israelite or in your Jewish organization, or isn't claiming to be a Christian, or they don't know all the answers, or fall under your religion, or doesn't speak the same language you speak, or come from the same place you come from, doesn't wear a headscarf, is a man over a woman, See, what we lost is a humbleness. We don't have humility. There is not a consideration anymore. And so the word apostasy has stayed in my spirit. Then there was a word that came before apostasy, which I'm going to talk about. And so let me start into this message today and share this with you. Because the only way we're going to gain the knowledge is and get the correct information is to use one book. One book, Yah's people. And that was the book that was supposedly written by the Most High. And who knows if it was written by the Most High, because unless you were there at the time it happened, you don't know. But see, the only author that I know of that book is Yah. But see, we use all these other books to come to this, your confirmations. You don't need a cipher. You don't need a book written by man to help you understand Yah's word, Yahweh word. Some of you all say Yahusha, Yahuwah, and all these other words. And you know why we're confused? Because we stayed away from the one book with the author, unknown. And when we asked who the author is, the author said, I am. The author said, I am. The author didn't say Tom Jones or give a name before. We said, who are you? And the author said, I am. Stop using all these books to understand the book, because it's confusing us. It's giving us a disillusion. It's adding to the chaos. See, if we just start to understand the book and start breaking the book down, we would be in a more of a unanimous agreement of what it means. See, the problem is all the other information is taking us away from the book when we all should be together going through the book so we collectively and collaboratively can have an understanding. And so let me get into the message today, y'all's people. So here is the message. How are we going to understand the book? The book. How? This was stayed in my spirit. Precept upon precept. Let me repeat that. Precept upon precept. What does that mean? I know you heard it. As you ponder the principle of line upon line, as you read the book, precept upon precept, you will be able to discern more clearly the consistent help from heaven you've received in your lives, and your faith in the Savior will be stronger, and your hope for the future will be brighter. Is that precept? Is a rule or principle? It's especially useful for one govern themselves in a personal conduct, while a commandment is one of the commandments. So what is, let me simplify this a little bit more. The only way we're going to understand what the Most High wanted to tell us is two ways. We're going to only use what we know and we believe Is what the Most High wrote for us. The instructions in the book, the word, the Bible. I'll even add this to say, and not to add to the confusion, who named the Bible the Bible? I always say, for the most part, I say the word, the word. Why? Because the Most High started off these instructions in this book saying, in the beginning was the word. The word was made flesh. That's what the Most High said. In the beginning was the word, and the word was made flesh. It's telling us there was a principle there. The word, the instructions was there before us. And then the word came as our savior, and it was made flesh. And then the word was telling us as it walked among us in the earth, telling us, teaching us, giving us the instructions. It giving us the instructions. But even when the word was made flesh, we didn't want to listen. We didn't want to listen. So this precept upon precept of following the word, it became at one point it was flesh. And Yahshua was sent into this world to tell us. And then at another point in time, the word became written. And how are we going to understand? Let me go and add this. The word became written. But even before the word became written, and the Most High said, in the beginning was the word. Each one of us, the Most High knew us before we were put into our mother's earthly womb. It was in the beginning. And so the goodness and our spirituality was in us before we were put into our mother's womb. Before there was a rule or a principle, what the Most High wanted us to know was already put in us. And then we came into this world with it. It's called our spiritual discernment. It's called our connection to the Most High. It's called our spirituality. So before anyone ever taught you a principle or a rule, you were already equipped with what you needed to get in, to get through or strive through this world. But what happened and what the Most High understood later was a mistake was that the Most High put it in the book. And when the Most High put it in the book and used people, and the people began to get evil a long time, right? Mankind began to get evil, and they took this book, this written document, and they added to it, and they took away from it. And the Most High knew at this point it was a mistake. And so instead of the people listening to what was inside and the connection to the Most High, they began to listen to other people. They began to pay attention to what was written, to these documents that were altered. That's where we went wrong. And so the 10 Commandments is part of the spirituality that was put in us. The 10 Commandments was written into a document, which was the beginning of the instructions. And so when we went to the Word, and we were trying to get this understanding, what we found was some correct matter, correct information, and then we also found the addendums and the edits and all the other information. And so we got confused, y'all's people. And then those that knew some of the correct information, unless they were in the correct spirit, then they began to be part of what misled us, what confused us. When they began to work for the evil one, they became a part of the misleading and taking away and turning people away from the Most High. Because the battle of spiritual warfare was before us. It happened. It happened in a whole nother realm that had nothing to do with us. And it's still going on. So it was an intention of evil for you to be misled before you were born. In case you didn't know that. The reason that you were became a sinner when you were born into this world, because the battle was on before you were put into your mother's womb. Didn't mean you were evil. It just meant that you were born into the fight. That you became the spiritual warfare that was already existing, because Satan was already trying to oppose the Most High. That we all, when we got born into this world, what's the word I want to say? We became spoils of the war. Spoils of the war. Please share this information if you share nothing else. Because see, the only way we're going to get to the truth is to break down the information. The only way we're going to get to the truth and break down the information is to start off with the correct information, y'all's people. And if we got to go back to the beginning and the basics, then so be it. Because see, if we got to go back to the correct biblical history, and that what was, and get back to the time of now, then yes, then we'll do that. Because I'm going to tell you something the Most High told me when I wasn't sure who was calling me, when the Most High called me. Happened within 24 hours. And I said, well, if you're, and I was in Christianity at the time, right? And I was like, well, if you're God, that's what I said, and you're calling me to do some work, how do I know it's you? And the Most High said to me, anytime you're doing anything for me, I can stop time, and I'm going to give you time to get it done. And I shared that with you all to say this. If I'm a messenger, if y'all sent me, and anybody that y'all sends, in order for you to get this correct, and if it's sent from the Most High is going to give you just as you are, whoever you are, in your time to get it. All of our times are not the same. We didn't come into this world the same time. We're not going to leave the world the same time. The Most High owns time. And so as long as anything is done in glorification and magnification and edification of the Most High, that will be done. Hallelujah. So I'm going to go and start to help us break this down line by line. precept by precept, because that's what we've been doing. I taught Revelations, because Most High, when Most High called me, I sat for a whole year. And then all of a sudden, Most High told me, teach Revelations. And I was intimidated. And it was hard for me. It was difficult for me. And I stumbled and I said some things wrong, but it got easier. The closer I got, the more I understood, the closer I got to the Most High, the easier it became for me. It became a comfort. And when I didn't do it, when I didn't go on and teach Revelations on the Christian Sunday, I felt amiss. When I'm not on my mission, it don't feel right. Most High don't have to tell me anything to do now. If I want to feel good, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do this. I started when it came upon me to teach Exodus chapter 4. I was like, okay, yeah, what you want me to do now? Nothing. I didn't get an answer. I don't know if I was talking to myself or it was the Most High talking to me, but said, if you're trying to glorify me and show me, get back to me, why do I have to tell you what to do? Started skimming through all, I had did a video about all the names of who God is and all these different gods. So I did a video. It's on YouTube, right? So go and check it out. And so I was actually skimming through the Bible one day, wasn't doing any teachings. And so here's Exodus chapter 4. Here's the names, one page, the names of all the different gods. This information was there. And then on the next page, it said, do Exodus chapter 4. Let's begin to go through Exodus chapter 4. It brought me right here. And so line upon line, precept upon precept, I've been sharing this information and trying to break this thing down. And that's what we've been doing. And the whole matter with the Exodus is there was a people and there was a nation that the Most High found favor with. And why this particular people? And why this nation? And why this place? And so the answers were found in the Exodus. And what I found in Exodus chapter 4 specifically, it took me back to all of this history. And as I'm learning it and breaking it down and understanding it, it started answering my questions. And I want to share that with you because it's going to get to what people have been arguing and fighting about since the beginning of time. Who is this people that Yah favored so much and loved so much? Their descendants, their ancestors, the beginning of time. And why these people? It's going to tell you who you are. It's going to take the veils off. And it's going to take the covers off. And it's going to lift away matters. It's going to peel back the layers. That's what we've been doing. Line upon line. Precept upon precept. Stay with me. See, what I got is not glitter and gold around here. I got the simple, uncut version. Most High said when you come to teach, they don't need to see you. They need to hear me. There's been days that I may have come on here not looking the best. Been many days that I've come on here fighting sickness, coughing, everything. But I still came. Because the Most High said, come as you are, as long as you come. And I have and I did. And I will. All the other things does not matter as long as you come in from the Most High. This here, this and what you have is nothing but a cover. It's covering your spirit. Most High don't need this, nothing. What you got, what I got. The Most High wants our spirit back. Because we was with the Most High before we came. And the Most High wants us back when it's time to go back. And I'm going to tell y'all, this is so funny. And I'm going to put together, when I get done with this, or at some point, and I don't like to compare it to the earthly things, right? But it started staying me the last 2-3 days. When I thought about the movie E.T., that I saw as a child. And all E.T. wanted to do was keep phoning home and go back home because it got dropped off. And that stayed in my spirit, along with apostasy and along with this principle and these lines in the scriptures, precept upon precept. It all flowed together. So I want to do some similarities to that, never taken away from the words of the Most High. But it'll also be a way to work with the children and the younger people. And it's not just for them, but it's a thought that we can share together. So I'm definitely going to do that, and by comparison and symbolism. So let's talk about these things. Anytime in the future, I'm available for speak with anyone. Alicia and I, Elda, Lynn Greer. You all know me as LmichelleLmichelle. When the Most High said, when you get done teaching Revelations, I have a name for you. I have a name for you, because when the Most High uses you, the Most High changes your name. I am Alicia Ananiah Elda, and I will be responding to that in the near future in totality. So here, it's talking about apostasy. So here, when we talk about apostasy, right? This is the recaps. I'm going to go into, then I'm going to go into the scriptures. We do this for like an hour. So here is 2 Timothy, and you all know I pulled the scripture, use the word, write these down so you can go back and read them, okay, and study them. So here's 2 Timothy, 3rd chapter, verses 1-6. And this talks about perilous times and perilous men, right? It's flowing back and confirming this story about that old prophet over the younger prophet. Okay, so perilous times. It's going back to when I was talking about, and I mentioned, which I didn't elaborate on, how people at these point in times, they're using their titles in a condescending manner and attitude, in a way of and superiority of making people feel like they don't know more about the Most High than others. And that attitude and nastiness is running people away from religions and breaking spiritual connections, because people are looking at these people, these men, these people wanting this apostasy as if they're an example of what the God of Christianity is, of who Yah is. I don't want any parts of it, because there's some nasty people. That's what's running people away. People don't want to know Yah. If these people that claim to represent the Most High are like this, how can these people who seem so hateful represent a God of love? This is what was talked about in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1-6. Perilous times and perilous men. But know this, that in the last days, perilous times will come. For men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. And the word says, and from such people turn away. For of this sort are those who creep into households, make captives of gullible women, loaded down with sin, led away by various lusts. That was 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. Perilous times and perilous men. Why do you think this particular scripture gave all of these descriptions? It said, in the last days. So this prophecy was written back then for a time such as now, because we are in the last days, God's people. And so the reason it was written specifically and gave all these descriptions, because the Most High knew what would come. Knew that as the generations went on, these people would be like this. The people would love money so much that they would turn in their congregations. The people would love money so much that they would fall and go against each other, even their relatives, their bloodlines. That people would just like boast so much. They get on Facebook and show their houses and their cars and what they have, and just so people would feel a certain way and think a certain way about them. But it has no value. That people couldn't even speak in the streets. Can't say hi. Mean for no reason. That they would gossip and talk bad about each other and spread hurtful rumors even if they weren't true. Intentionally say and do things that they feel can harm someone or characterize someone in a negative or bad light. Slanderers. Most High knew that knows that they're gods with a lowercase g. That there are those out there who retain power, who actually have power, who actually have supernatural power. But the Most High knows they're not working for him, they're working for Satan. And that these would use their powers for evil. But they would use their powers in such a way that people would be amazed and astounded and follow after them. That these will have the ability to morph and look like whatever is your temptation in order to gain your faith and your belief. That these would simulate who the Most High is and what the Most High is. Would even open up churches, would even appear and preach good on Sunday, and would drive the finest and look wonderful and have mega churches and would be examples in the community, but they were not of God. They're not of the Most High. They're not of Yah. I said God for a reason, because there's a God of Christianity and religion, but Yah is a spiritual entity. Yah is I am, and Yah wrote the word. It was not until the word became flesh that the word was given a name. It was not until Yahshua became flesh that Christianity was born. And that's when man got up in it, because the word said at the same time Yahshua was born, the governor stood on his neck. What does that mean? That principles and laws and all of these things came into play. That Satan was in opposition when the Messiah came to save the world, because the spiritual warfare that Satan kicked off in heaven, when he was kicked out of heaven and he landed on earth on the way to hell, and they stopped there, that the Most High knew that in order to save my people, something else has to be done, because they are on earth and they've taken over the people that I love. And so sent and sacrificed. That spirit sent and sacrificed to come into this world in the flesh, so that we would have a choice. I had this conversation with someone the other day, and I had this conversation a few times before. And I'm going to ask you all one question for you all to think about. And I think this question can open up a lot of understanding, misunderstanding, dialogue, because the dialogue needs to be open. Okay, remember I said, when Yeshua came into the world in the flesh, was born into the world, that's when Christianity started and the religions started being built from it, which is in Revelation, starts off because Yah talks about the 7 churches. So on the beginning, when Yahshua came into the world, religion started. And here is Revelations on the end, and it's ending with these 7 churches too. The 7 churches are the basis of all these other religions. And so here, the question is, all these religions and all these conditionings about religion, right? All these branches and all these religions. Whoever your God is, your idol is, you studied it. I asked the question, like, has your God ever sacrificed itself for you? Through your knowledge, your studies, your research. Because for me, and in my studies and in my journey along the way of religions and finding myself spiritually, still are searching and understanding for myself. The only God that I knew, studied, heard about, that sacrificed itself for me was Yah, the creator. And do I know that for sure? Absolutely not. But still, it's the only story of a God that did that. All the other gods that I've heard about came didn't come. Let me say all the other gods. Let me rephrase that to be correct. All of the other gods that I've heard about with under different religions, the guise of religions, they were man-made entities. They were um, they were mythology and stories of gods. Um, they were gods of different things that were made unto the earth, which things that were made into the earth, but I just never heard of them making them. But they took credit for it. But do any of these, by name, by knowledge that you know, do you know of any stories of them, it sacrificing itself for you? Ask your older people that are alive. Go back and read your ancestry, hereditary information, documentation. Follow those lines and find out. Because as far as I know, there's only been one. So let me get back in this word, just food for thought. So here I want to go to James, book of James, chapter 3, verses 13 through 18. And so when I started to talk about how condescending people are, this is about that. It says, who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by his good conduct that his deeds are done in gentleness of wisdom. But if you have a bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, don't boast. Don't lie against the truth. This wisdom is not that which comes down from above, but it's earthly, it's sensual, and it's demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition are, there is confusion on every evil deed. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then it's peaceful, it's gentle, it's reasonable, it's full of mercy and good fruits. It doesn't have partiality. So it says without partiality, without hypocrisy, without being hypocritical. It says, now the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. So again, here we are, a lost people. And there's some of us who have power, really supernatural power. Those who started off working for the Most High, lost themselves along the way, went to the other side, so they know the truth. There's some who studied the truth but don't have the power. And there's some who pretend to know the truth and they don't. It's some who act like they're doing up in the churches, those buildings, and misleading people, and they're hypocrites because they don't have the power, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have anything, they just pimping. So it speaks of all these things in First Timothy, and here in James 3:13. Now it's telling you how you can find out if these are really Yah's people, if they really sent from Yah. It's helping you to recognize who they really are versus who they really aren't. Because if they say who they are and they profess who they are, they're going to keep you under and near the Most High. They're going, if you don't know, they're going to be gentle and kind and tell you. They're not going to make you feel like an idiot because you don't know or you say the wrong thing. They're not going to make you feel less because you're a woman because it's a man over you. They're not going to make you feel a certain way or lie to you like the old prophet did, the young prophet, because they've been in this religion thing a long time versus you just started off 3 months ago or 2 years ago. So, here in James 3, chapter 3, 13-18 is helping to recognize who they are. Who is Yah's people? Recognize them by their fruits. The word says here, it says, The fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. There's a humbleness, and they're going to have a humility when they think about, I am responsible for leading these people and giving these people the right information. So if you are a leader, or you were called, or you were appointed, even if you lost your way along the way, you still have the responsibility. Even if you get lost, you're responsible. Because even if one person comes to you, even if you're not doing this thing with God and Yah anymore, if a person comes your way and you mislead them, the blood is on your hands. Because See, we stopped taking our responsibility for correctness. We started taking a blind eye to wrongness. When are you going to be correct in your nature, in your walk? You don't have to know the word. Stop ignoring what's in your spirit. Y'all's people. Child, we have about 15 more minutes. I'm going to go back to the recaps. Genesis chapter 16 verses 12. A carnal plan for children. It states, he will be like a wild donkey among men. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. He will live opposed to all his brothers. Destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Genesis chapter 19 verses 24. Then Yahweh rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from Yahweh out of the sky. I'm going to tell you all just real quick. I'm going to get back in this word. Stepping away from the word for a minute. When I got sick December 24th, 2021, prior to that date, every time I went out for weeks, 2-3 weeks, I was smelling sulfur. How do I know it was sulfur? Because when I was a little girl, and some of you all might be able to agree with this, my mother used to put sulfur-8 in my hair. Sulfur-8 was strong, and I hated that smell. But whenever somebody's mama put sulfur-8 in their hair, you could smell them a mile away. And I hated when my mother put that in my hair, but it supposedly made our hair grow. So that smell always stayed with me. I know that smell. And for weeks before December 24th, when I got sick, every time I went out, I smelled sulfur. I was having a conversation with someone, and it just kind of clicked in the middle of the conversation. And we were talking about last days, and I was like, and we were talking about sulfur, and it was mentioning the fire and brimstone. Why will we be smelling sulfur at a time like this? Sulfur. Because the end is near, y'all's people. If you go out into the world and you're smelling anything, the end is near. There's a distinctness. The signs are there, y'all's people. We have to get it together. Most High is not playing with us, and nor not giving us any other chances. This is gonna be it. You don't have to get all your partying out and do all these things, because we don't know when the Most High is coming. But this is what I'm going to tell you. You don't know, and I don't know. Not even the angels in heaven know. But what I'm going to tell you is always be prepared. Just like your house, your home. If a thief comes into your home, most of us prepare for that. Stay prepared and paid and stay ready. Why isn't your spirit prepared for the thief that's coming in the night? Why isn't your soul prepared when the spirit says, I'm coming? And let me go back and let me take away what I just said. Why isn't your soul prepared for the thief that's coming in the night? That was just verbatim of a simulation of what is said. The Most High is going to come like a thief in the night. Because we don't know when the Most High is coming. So I want to take away those words like a thief in the night. How about the Most High if you want to compare it to somebody coming and taking you by surprise? Is if you be ready as if you're unclothed. You don't have any clothes on. Because most of us, when somebody walk in there that we're not familiar with and we're not dressed, we cover up. How about you just be ready and not be naked when someone comes in and surprises you? How about you just be ready and always clothed in correct spirit so that when the Most High comes, you're going to be like, take me as I am. I'm ready, Most High. How about that? All right, so I'm going to keep going. The test of Amalek. Genesis 21. Abraham traveled from there toward the land of the south, lived between Kadesh and Shur. He lived as a foreigner in Gerar. So I was reading, I was trying to figure out who is Amalek? Amalek. Abimelech. His father was Gideon. His father Gideon was a judge. He was the son of the king of Israel. He was born in Shechem, Palestine, a region, a place, a geographical location, and his concubine was from that same area. So what did Amalek do wrong? So what happened? Why was this test of Amalek mentioned? So it says, God repaid Amalek for the evil he had done to his father. So what did Amalek do? What did he do wrong? So because his father Gideon was a judge and he was a king, the king had like all of these brothers, right? The king had all these concubines. And so when there were times of like hierarchies, each person that when a person passed away, the next in line by like a descendant would, and the oldest one was whoever was there was the next to inherit the throne, right? And so Amalek had all these brothers before him, like 70 brothers before him, he could inherit the throne. So what did he do? He went and slayed and killed all 70 of his brothers, so that when his father passed away, he went and killed all 70 that was before him, so he could be the next king. Okay? And so when it talks about the test of Amalek, it says this was really troubling, right? Because he did this. So according to Judges, the book of Judges, Amalek's sin was against his already dead father, not against his murdered brothers or his Shemite victims. So Amalek didn't think it was wrong to kill the 70 brothers. Now, whether he knew about them before his father passed away or whether he knew about them after his father passed away, Amalek looked at it like this. Well, they were not from the same place I'm from with my father, because my father was the king of Israel, but these people, these other brothers are from different areas and different places, mainly being Shechem, Palestine. That's where his concubine was from also, right? His one of his concubines, one of his women. And so why didn't he, this is just a question. If he thought lesser of these men that were from this place, but it was okay to think about his wife as being okay from there, right? And so he hit the way he thought, well, my father is dead, and so I have these other brothers, and because they're from Palestine, they're nothing. They're just who they are. And so I'm just move them out the way, kind of like kicking blocks over, and I'm just gonna be the king. And so there was not a morality issue for him in his head, like this is just wrong that you're killing people. He said, well, because of where they're from and because they were bastards to my father, I'm gonna kill them. No, it's nothing. He didn't think about it's just wrong to kill the people. So that was always a question. Okay. So he sought to rule over Shisham by killing all his brothers and sons. Also, when it talks about Amalek, while David was at Nob, fleeing from Saul, Amalek gave David Goliath's sword. The story of David and Goliath. David fought the giant. Okay, so the spoils of that fight was that they held Goliath's sword, and so they gave it to David. Okay, so the birth of Jacob and Esau. So it talks about Genesis 25, chapter 25, verses 18 and 26. And so this answers a lot of questions about, I mentioned in previous days of the Exodus teachings, like where did the division come from between the tribes, right? And so when Jacob and Esau was in their mother Rebekah's womb, when Isaac and Rebekah had Jacob and Esau, they were in Rebekah's womb. There was a word that came and said, although these two were in Rebekah's womb, they were fighting inside Rebekah's womb. So there was always an opposition of nations. And so I'm going back to what I said in the beginning of the word, because this word is going to come full circle today before we end. And because the word said they were fighting in their mother's womb. And then I mentioned to you all when we got started that the Most High knew you before you were put into your mother's womb, right? And so here, when you think about if the Most High knew you before you were put into your mother's womb, when Jacob and Esau were known by the Most High before they were put into their mother's womb, but they were fighting in opposition, even in their mother's womb, and then the stories that come after it shows that there was an intention and a purpose for these two nations, okay? So getting back to the birth of Jacob and Isaac in Genesis 25, verses 18 and 26, it said, they lived from Havilah to Shur, that is before Egypt, as you go to Assyria. He lived opposite all his relatives. Now, go and study Assyria for you all. Go and study Assyria. And so go back to what Assyria used to be called, if it's always been called Assyria, know its descendants. A lot of people from Assyria, you can recognize them currently as being Syrians. And so a lot of the names have values and association. So anyway, they were talking about these places they lived. And then he said he lived opposite all his relatives. And then it says in 26, after that, his brother came out. They were talking about their birth, Jacob and Esau's birth, and his hand had held on to Esau's foot. His name was Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. So Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah had Jacob and Esau, right? And so who came out first? Esau came out first. Remember Esau? Esau means red, right? Esau represents Edom. Then Jacob came out afterward. He was holding on to the heel of Jacob. I'm going to keep going. Israel presses Yah. So in Exodus 15, chapter 15, verses 22 and 26, it jumps forward to the time of Moses, right? Remember, I said that when we're talking about Bible scriptures, you have to follow them precept by precept, line by line, and go to the verses it tells you so it can confirm and or clarify what you're not understanding. And so here, these verses, each verse leads to another for clarification and purpose of the message. And so here, the timelines jump, right? And so it jumped from Genesis when it was talking about the birth of Jacob and Esau, showing that this was the logic behind the two people that represented the nations. And so here jumps to Moses when the documentation took place of the word. Because in the beginning was the word. And then it wasn't documented, it was put into us before we placed in our mother's womb when we came into the world. So each one of us came into the world with the word in us, right? The spiritual discernment of morality of what's right and wrong. Okay, so here, this was Moses. It says Israel praises Yah. So in Exodus 15, verses 22 and 26, it says Moses led Israel onward from the Red Sea, and they went into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And 26 says, he said, if you listen carefully to the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will bring on you. I will not bring on you any of the diseases that I brought on the Egyptians. For I am the Lord who heals you. I'm going to stop there today. I'm going to stop there because I need to talk about this and leave you all with this. I'm going to read the scripture again because here in Exodus chapter 15, it's talking about right after the Exodus started. The Exodus actually had already started. The Red Sea was parted. The Egyptians and Pharaoh and his army were drowned in the Red Sea. Exodus, Israel had got away, they escaped, and they were on their journey. Okay, they were in the wilderness already 3 days from that incident, that supernatural incident that happened. And so here, the word wasn't even written yet. Let me tell you all how this thing came full circle today. All right, it came full circle, but this is for elaboration for you all. This thing came full circle today. Because as I stated, and as I mentioned at the beginning, and several times throughout this lesson, and even now, here in Exodus 15, Israel, Yah's people was already in the wilderness 3 days. They didn't have any water. Right. And here's the Most High. Remember, it didn't go into this parts of the story where it was saying, here is the Most High guiding you by night and day with fire and a cloud, right? With fire by night and a cloud by day. It didn't say that. But here, these people were seeing this on the third day. They were seeing this supernatural occurrence happening. And so then here's the Most High talking to them. It says, Most High is saying, if you listen carefully to the Lord your God, and you do what is right in the Lord's eyes, if you pay attention to his commands meaning what he's telling you, keep all his decrees. At this point, were the decrees written or not? Probably not yet, but it was saying what's to come. You keep all his decrees. I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who healed you. It was almost like letting you know that if you do these things, if you just listen to me, I'll make sure that what you saw back in Egypt, right? All those things that were taking place back in Egypt, I said they were judgments. This is Most High. The Most High was calling them judgments. Man, the Egyptians were calling them plagues. Let me say that again. In the word, every time the Most High gave instructions to Aaron and Moses, And the Most High said, I want you to go over here and do this. This is going to happen to the Egyptians. This is to Pharaoh people. The Most High called them judgments. Every time the same information came back about this thing that the Most High said was going to happen, and it started happening to the people called it plagues. That was back then. Here we are in this time. And the Most High was saying, all you have to do is listen to me and keep my decrees. 3 days out the wilderness, there was no written documentation of the word. But here we are in 2022, and here's the Most High all these years later. That was what it was. Here we are right now. And the Most High is saying to me, if you listen to me carefully, the Lord your God, and do what is right in my eyes, if you pay attention to my commands, right, what was already instilled in your heart, and then if you keep my decrees, what was written in my word, I would not bring any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians. Here we are in the time of now, and the Most High is saying to you, remember what happened on those judgments you call plagues I did to the Egyptians. Here we are now. I'm still telling you the same thing. I'm asking you to listen. I'm asking you to pay attention to your spiritual discernment. And I'm asking you to keep my written document, my written words. And it says, remember what I did to the Egyptians with those judgments you call plagues. So it's going to happen to you again if you don't do these things. And here we are in 2022, and we in these plagues. But see, what we got to realize, we call them plagues, but the Most High called them judgments. You were taught that the judgment day is going to be something else. You were taught the judgment day is going to be something else. That's what the church has taught us. This is why Revelation started for the last days of the churches. Because you were misled to believe that judgment is something else. The Most High already knew what the end looked like. The Most High already saw everything on a timeline. The Most High was saying the same thing to Israel on the day of the Exodus, and saying the same thing to Israel right now. Do you remember what I did to Israel when I brought you out? And here you are, and you're still doing the same thing, and I'm still asking you the same thing, and I'm still sending the same judgments of the things you call plagues on you right now. And all you got to do to stop these things you call plagues, which is judgments, because I'm taking each one of you all, and you're standing before me, and I'm taking you all out by numbers. And I'm taking you all out by numbers. The numbers may not mean nothing to you all, but the numbers have a point and they have a value. And the reason I'm taking you all out by numbers, because these are judgments. And while I'm taking you all out by these judgments, and these plagues keep coming, and they keep changing these names on these plagues. These are my judgments. Men give it in a name because that's what men want to do. But I said, this is me. This is me. When you going to stop listening to man and listen to me? What do I have to show you? What do I have to take you through, Israel? What do I have to do to let you know it's me? Do I have to take you out by numbers? Do I have to keep sending these judgments on you, which are plagues? What do I have to do? The word says, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. All you got to do is recognize me. All you got to do is be sincere in your heart, know who I am, and know the power that I possess. And I have power over all things. over these men, over everything that you're giving all this credit to. It's me. I did this. I can stop this anytime. I can heal you from all of this. It doesn't have to be like this, Israel. I'm just calling on you. Because if you continue as you were, if you continue as you are, how can I take you to something better if you won't change? How can I give you a greater than I've given you of what was supposed to be here if you not respected what I've given you already? I can't take you to anything better until you recognize and appreciate it. You gotta appreciate where it came from. This thing has come full circle today. I want to thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for joining me. Please come back. I am gonna come back tomorrow. Say we get into the meat of the matter. We get into this meat of this matter. I need y'all to wake up, Israel. I need y'all to wake up, God's people. This is serious. The time is close. We smell. I'm smelling sulfur. We smelling stuff in this air. We seeing these signs, Israel. Please. Y'all showed me October 15th of 2020. Y'all told me. Y'all said there's going to be people that you love that you're not going to be able to take with you. And it devastated me. I was devastated. I started scrambling. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I'm trying to figure it out. Trying to save everybody. Trying to help everybody. And y'all said, you can't save them. Because no matter what you do, they ain't going to listen. Y'all said, they ain't listen to me. They ain't going to listen to you. And it's unfortunate because you're going to see a lot of people you love leave here. Y'all showed me somebody real close to me getting sick. And the person got sick. I was not in a good place with this person. But God, y'all told me, go over there anyway. And when I got there, I had an attitude, still had an attitude, doing my thing. I'm going here. God told me if I wasn't here, God, I wouldn't even be here. God wouldn't tell me, come over here. me, like we all do. But at least I was obedient. I listened to God. And I was able to save the person for a little while. And God said, if the person don't change their spirit, they gotta weigh this down. But if they don't change, they still gonna be back. If they don't change, they're still gonna be back. And there's nothing that I can do. I just began to try to share a word to this person. Please, come on. But see, there's a thing, there's a word that says, try as you can tell them so many times and keep on at them. But they gotta come. They gotta want to come themselves. They have to be willing and ready to come to the Spirit themselves. And if they don't come in the required time and at a proper amount of time, and if they don't understand, I come before I come, all is lost. The only thing you can do, this is y'all talking to me, is stay on your mission and try to save them. You can tell them. But how many times you gotta tell them? How many times you gotta ask them, you don't have the power and authority that I do. And with all my power and authority, they still won't listen. They have to have a willingness of heart. They gotta connect to me. They gotta connect to me in order to come unto me. So I'm staying on my mission. I'm gonna stay on my mission. I'm gonna stay in my mission. This what I was called to do. Trying to wake you all up, y'all's people. I don't have all the answers. I'm still on that judgment too. Because if I'm not doing this part right here, I gotta answer y'all for this. Because as I'm learning and the spirit is opening me up, if I'm not sharing it with you, this my part. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm gonna be responsible for a lot of people. So it started out as laborious work for me. It ain't work no more because I'm doing it in the spirit. I'm doing it because it feels good. I'm doing it now because I want to do it. But I'm not God, and I can imagine how the Most High feels. Because it's breaking my heart when I see people that I love. When y'all show me people that I love, that's not going to be with me, or I'm not going to be with them. I'm distraught when I see they're not in belief. When I think that I might have to watch what y'all showed me, it does not feel good. Because y'all already told me that it's not gonna feel good. And the truth hurts. But at least while I'm using you, you can try to save one. And maybe even just one. That's what I'm doing. So I apologize. Okay, well, sorry, I thought I had a. But anyway, I just thank you all for coming in. And I just pray this out. Please come back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. So, Father, yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for using me. I hope, please open up somebody, or a whole lot of somebodies. If they could hear just one thing, one word, plant one seed, and it could save somebody's soul. I believe and I trust you. I trust you over all matters of man. I ask for your protection. I ask for your might. And a blessing down of gifts I receive in order to do this work. And for every worker, every person, everyone that you have called, I ask that you strengthen them and you build them and you bless them with gifts to keep doing this work. And persistence and endurance, because they need it. Build them up with a supernatural ability to keep going on whatever you deem necessary for the work. And I ask one more day, Lord, one more day for grace and mercy on your people, even those who don't deserve or don't know or don't believe. Wow, you still say there's time. for redeeming in your name. Hallelujah. Come back, you all. Come back tomorrow. I will see you then. In the meantime, peace, love you, Mike.